Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I've been super into soft glam looks these days. So I'm going to be doing that, but with like a pop of color for the liner. So I hope you guys are ready to get into this look. I really love the way that it came out. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I've already moisturized my lips using the Milani Fruit Fresh Lip Balm in the Kiwi Watermelon scent. This one smells so good. And now I'm going to go into priming my eyes. I'm using the LA Girl Pro Concealer first to carve underneath my brows. And I'm going to take that concealer along the outside and inside of the eye, so that way everything kind of blends in a lot easier when I go in to apply my foundation and everything. And then to prime the lid space, I'm going to use the Bperfect eyeshadow priming base. I'm pretty much applying that on the inner portion of the lid, and I'm using a really fluffy brush to blend that into the concealer that we applied beforehand. Moving on to eyeshadows, I'm going to be using one of my favorite neutral palettes right now. This is the Melt Cosmetics Rust palette. It has a ton of beautiful, really warm neutral colors. I'm first going to go into the shade Mauve, and I'm going to apply that onto the outer corner of the eye and kind of create like a little bit of like a V shape. I'm keeping everything nice and smoky on the outer corner, so I'm going to pretty much focus all of my shadows in that space. I'm then going to go into the shade Rust, and using that color, I'm going to blend out the edges of our previous shade. Then before I move into my third transition color, I'm going to use a little bit of Beauty Bakerie's Flower Powder and just set the brow bone and outer portion of the eyes. For me, it's a lot easier to create that really smooth transition when that space is set with powder. And then for my last transition color, I'm going into the shade Rubbish. I'm using a much fluffier brush to apply this color as well, so I get that really diffused effect. Then for the lid, I'm going to use the shade Antique. Now, I'm not sure why I decided to use a blending brush to apply this color. I definitely should have used like a flat brush to apply, because this color ended up creasing on me later throughout the day. So if you're going to be recreating this look, definitely use like a flat brush to apply this shade, so that way your eyeshadow doesn't crease later on. So next I'm going to go into this winged liner. I pretty much used 3 different gel liners and mixed them together to create like this mint color. You definitely don't have to do that. For some reason, this was just like the first thought that came into my head to like mix, these liners together. You can definitely use a white concealer and just create your liner that way and then add like a mint eyeshadow on top. But for some reason, this is like what came to mind for me, so I just kind of went with it. But yeah, I pretty much mixed these 3 shades together on the back of my hand and then went ahead and applied using a little paintbrush that I got from Hobby Lobby. And that pretty much is it for the eyes as far as like eyeshadow and liner is concerned. So I'm going to go in with some mascara. I'm using the Lancôme Monsieur Big Mascara. This is one of my all-time favorites. I always come back to this one when I'm not really sure about like which mascara to use. So I'm going to add a couple of coats of that, and then I'll pop on my false lashes. The style that I'm using today is Sydney from Lilly Lashes, and I'm using a pair of tweezers to apply them. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to skin. I'm going to moisturize really well today because I'm going to be doing more of like a full coverage look for the skin today. So I'm going to go first in with the Milk Makeup Vegan Milk Moisturizer. We just want to make sure to really moisturize the skin because we're definitely going to be going full coverage. So moisturizer is definitely needed. I'm then going to go in with a couple of drops of face oil. This one is from Milani. I'm using their Rose Prep and Brighten face oil. I'm doing maybe 1 or 2 drops onto the cheeks and just blending everything out using my fingers. Then to prime, I'm going to use the Milani Rose Primer. I'm only placing this one onto the cheeks and like the bottom half of my face, not so much like the T-zone area, because I'll be saving that for the Farsali liquid powder that I'm going to apply next. That primer is definitely more like oil controlling and can be very drying, so it works really well for like my T-zone and any parts of my face that get super oily. Moving on to foundation, I'm going to be using the Dermablend Flawless Creator Foundation in the shade 60N, and I'm going to apply that using a really fluffy brush from BH Cosmetics. I've been really loving this brush, so if you guys are in need of a new foundation brush, I definitely recommend this one. I also have a coupon code for BH Cosmetics now, so if you guys are ever interested in purchasing some of their products, you can get a discount off of your purchase. I'll make sure to leave that down below in the description box along with my other coupon codes. So yeah, I'm pretty much just applying my foundation using my brush first, and then later on I'll go over everything using a sponge. But first I'm going to add my concealer. I'm using the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Sucre today, and I'm going to apply that on all the areas that I want to highlight. So the under eyes, the sides of the nose, a little bit on the forehead, the cupid's bow, the sides of the mouth, as well as the chin. I'm going to blend that out again using a brush, and then once I'm done applying, I'll go over everything with the sponge. I'm going to be doubling up on concealers today, so I'm going to be using the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer next, and this one is in the shade Cookie. I'm only going to be using this on the inner portion of the under eyes though. I'm going to take that up to the sides of the nose, and again I'm blending with a brush and just going over everything using a sponge. I know this technique is kind of like tedious and takes a lot more time, but I feel like I just really get that really smooth, like flawless finish when I use both steps, so that's the reason why I do that. But you definitely don't have to. You can definitely just use your sponge or use your brush alone. I've done that in the past, but I just like the way that it looks. Then for my next cream product, I'm going to be using the Black Opal foundation sticks. I'm using a mixture of 2 different shades to get like my preferred contouring shade. So I'm adding those on all the places that I want to bring shadow to, so the cheekbones, a little bit on the forehead, as well as the nose. I'm then going to go in with some cream blush. This is a newer step that I've added into my skin routine, but it comes in handy for sure. These are the CoverGirl Clean Fresh cream blushes in the shades Flush and Butterflies. Basically, I'm using these as like a base for my powder blush. I find that when I add this on prior to my powder blush, my blush just lasts longer in general and it doesn't fade as quickly. I feel like we all know that blush like plays no games. Like she's ready to walk out the door. By the time you're done with your makeup, like your blush is already halfway gone. So I feel like if you're having that issue, definitely try using a cream blush under your powder blush and see if that works for you, because I definitely find that my blush lasts a lot longer with this technique. So that is it for all of my cream and liquid products. Now we're going to start setting everything with powder. So I'm first going to set the under eyes and all the areas that I highlighted with my concealer. And I'm using the Pretty Vulgar Translucent Setting Powder. I really love this powder. I used to use it all the time in the past, and then I kind of like switched to different other powders. I fell in love with it all over again the other day. I'm using a really thin layer of this. I'm going to add that powder onto the sponge and tap it in until the powder disappears. And now we're setting our cream contour with some bronzer. This is also going to add some warmth into the skin. So I'm using the Vesca Beauty Soft Matte Bronzer in Kiss by Cabo, and I'm going over all the areas that I added my cream contour. Then to set the rest of the face, so like our foundation and everything, I'm using the MAC Studio Fix powder in the shade NC50, and I'm applying that with my powder puff. This is like a new favorite tool for me. I just started using it more recently, and I love the way that this makes my skin look. Going in with some Beauty Bakerie flour powder. This one is in the shade Cassava. So I am going to be baking today. I'm going to be taking this powder along the sides of the nose, the under eyes, along the sides of the mouth, and I'm going to add a little bit onto the bridge of the nose. The key to baking to not get like that crusty, musty look under the eyes, which is the reason why I never baked in the past, is you need to set with a powder first, like I did before with that Pretty Vulgar one, and then you bake. You never want to bake on top of like, you know, fresh concealer, because then you'll get that super cakey, you know, crusty look, and nobody wants that. We want like smooth under eyes, smooth skin. So go in with a thin layer of translucent powder first, and then go in with your baking. While that powder is sitting there, I went ahead and applied my powder blush. I'm using the BH Cosmetics Bellini blush palette, and isn't this palette so cute? I love all of these tones in this palette. I'm using the shade Just Peachy, and I'm going to add that on top of the cream blush that we applied before, as well as the forehead and a little bit on the nose, nothing too crazy. But I've been loving blush these days, so I'm going to add quite a bit of that and until I get like my desired look. And then once I have my blush on, I'll use a clean, like fluffier brush to knock off all of that powder that we used to bake. To highlight the nose, I'm going in with the Belgian Waffle palette from BH Cosmetics. Then using that shade Syrup, I'm going to add that to the bridge of the nose, the tip of the nose, as well as the sides. So I'm going to go back to the eyes and finish that up. I'm going to add my inner corner highlight now, and I'm using the shade Classic from the Rust palette. And then for the lower lash line, I'm going to start smoking that out using a mixture of Amar and Rot Squared. I'm going to use Amar first to kind of get that warmth going on, and then I'll use Rot Squared and add that super close to the lash line to add some extra drama and depth. For the waterline, I'm going to use the BH Cosmetics Power Pencil. I've been really loving these pencils lately. They're super smooth and very creamy. I'm using the shade Beige, and I'm going to pop that onto the waterline to brighten the eyes. And then I'll add my mascara onto my lower lashes. I'm using the same mascara that I use for my top lashes, so the one from Lancôme. This is the Monsieur Big. And then I'll go in with my individual lashes from Ardell. I'm using the Double Up individuals and the shortest length. I'm placing 2 little clusters onto the outer portion of the lower lash line, and I don't know why, I just really like it. I feel like it kind of like balances out the lashes on the top and just makes everything a little bit more like proportioned. Next up, we've got brows. This is a new product that I got recently that I'm really loving. This is from JCat Beauty. It's their new eyebrow contouring 4-tip pen, and I'm using the shade Brown. It's basically like your typical eyebrow pen, but it has 4 little different tips versus just like a single one. So it makes it really easy to get like that feathered brow effect. So I'm using that to fill in all the sparser areas of my brows. Then to keep all of my brow hairs in place, I use the NYX Control Freak Brow Gel. So I'm pretty much done with the skin, the eyes, the brows. At this point, all I have to do is the lips. Before I get started on that, I'm going to add my little beauty marks. I'm going to redefine them using a gel liner from Milk Cosmetics. This is just like your typical brown liquid liner. And yeah, I'm going to go over all of the areas that I have like my natural beauty marks. I'm also going to add a little dot onto a blemish that I have on my cheek so it's not as noticeable. So I'm going to move on to lips now. I'm using a mixture of 2 different lip liners. These are the NYX Slide On Glide On lip liner in the shade Intimidate. And I'm also going to use the Melt Cosmetics lip liner in the shade Edible. Someone mentioned in the comments that I use like 2 of everything, and it's so true. Like looking back at like my footage, I literally like use 2 of everything and like mix things together. I don't know why that is. You guys definitely don't have to do that if you don't want to. I guess that's just like the artist in me or whatever, but yeah. I thought it was so funny when I was reading the comment and I was like looking back at my footage. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. I really do use 2 of everything. But yeah. Anyways, I'm then going to add my liquid lipstick. I'm using one from L'Oreal. This is their Infallible liquid lipstick in the shade Sweet Tooth from their Les Chocolat collection. It smells divine. I highly recommend that you guys check these out if you haven't already. And for gloss, I'm using one from BH Cosmetics. This is their So Extra lip gloss in the shade Rowdy. And that pretty much completes this look, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to check the description box if you guys ever have questions about products that I'm using. I'm also adding links down below to, you know, make it a lot easier for you guys to check out the products that I'm using as well. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this makeup tutorial. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up this video, comment down below, let me know what you think, and I love you guys, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.